Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, I started playing Yakuza. I do apologize. I feel like doing a little more reaction content. Hope maybe get better at it. Then get back into my normal schedule again. You can try that out. See how that works. Anything else? So, here you go. This is interesting.
The Electoral College explained. My friends, I'm super excited for this one. I know election day is just.
Hope you guys don't mind me doing some election stuff. Hello, hey, Marbig, what's up? Also eating some Reese's Fast Breaks, like I said. More Halloween candy today.
Just around the corner, but I was watching the news and someone said that in America you can actually win the popular vote and still lose. And I thought I have to react to a video explaining all of this. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. Is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description and
Playing the Electoral College.
If
I
you
already know
watch
the
the
Electoral
news during
College,
a
but
presidential election, you'll hear a lot of this.
What do the national polls look like?
Hillary Clinton's nationally. Joe Biden is currently ahead.
But these national polls don't actually tell you who's going to win.
Wait, because this is the national poll means basically popular vote, right? Is the entire nation. Okay.
Throw the
This is
national polls out the window. They don't.
the national polls are there to poll people nationally, 50 states, see who think they'll win, who they think is doing well in the economy or immigration, women's rights, and then, usually whoever's leading that does have a good chance of winning. Not all the time, but yeah, so more delicious. Let's break.
Matter at all. What matters are those swing states.
Ah, yes, the swing
Swing
states.
states.
Most democracies around the world elect their head of state with a popular vote, so whoever gets the most votes wins. But
I think in Portugal, if you win the popular vote, you cannot lose the election. That's why this video is so interesting to me. And my friends, please try to not be political. This is more informative video than anything else. But I feel like I understand the idea of a swing state. Because in America, Texas, for example, is red, Republican. And I don't think there is a way around that, right? Because historical tends to be that, and we know that most likely will happen. I believe California is blue, right? And no matter more or less what happens, it will be blue. But
Yeah.
certain states, and please feel free to correct.
That is true, but it also depends on gerrymandering, who's voting, how much, who's voting, which party's voting, because it's usually Democrat, Republican stuff. There might be some independents or third party, but rarely do they win. You might have a better chance at a local level, be a mayor, or be on a county judge or something.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Certain states are not either Democrat or Republican. They are whatever, basically. At the moment, if they agree more with this or if they agree more with that, they swing. That's why there is the name swing states, right? I think it's fair to call them purple states almost because they switch between blue and red. But why they
Pretty good,
matter
man.
so much? Let's try to understand this.
Elect their head of state with
Be
a
smart.
popular vote, so whoever gets the most votes wins.
Okay,
But in America, we do it a little differently.
different, yeah.
The US is the only country that picks its president using something called the Electoral College. It's made up of
Interesting.
delegates from each US state. When Americans vote for president, what they're actually voting for is who their state will vote for. This is why, every so often, someone wins the presidency without winning the popular vote. That's happened twice in just the past 20 years.
Okay.
The majority of Americans do not like this system and haven't for a long time. Both political parties have made attempts to get rid of it. So why does
Okay, so actually both disagree with the system. Wait,
But the only reason
not
they
changing.
disagree with the system is depending on who's in charge. Republicans are in charge. Obviously, the Democrats are not gonna like it. Democrats are Republicans are like that. You gotta figure out something better.
The system, actually.
does the US still use the Electoral College? And who actually benefits from it? The Electoral College is based on how people are represented in Congress, where each state has a number of representatives based on its population, and every state also gets 2 senators. So, for example, let's look at Texas, which has a huge population, and Vermont, which has a really small one. Texas has 36 representatives in Congress. Vermont only gets 1. Representatives in both states each represent roughly the same number of people. In the Electoral College, a state gets the same number of delegates as their congressional representatives, plus 2 for each senator. So Texas has 38 electoral votes, Vermont has 3.
It's a
But
huge
this
difference.
combination makes the number of people each delegate represents way different between states. In Texas, 1 electoral delegate represents 3 times the amount of people as 1 in Vermont.
Yep.
And that makes
Sorry, I'm gonna run that part back. I really have to understand this.
represents way different.
It's a little different now because you added 2 extra. Now, 36 to 38. This is 3 now, so they not now. Fair represent 10. Now 6,000, 4,000 people instead of
different between states.
That's supposed to be it.
In Texas, 1 electoral delegate represents 3 times the amount of people as 1 in Vermont. And that
Okay.
makes each individual person's vote in Vermont a lot more influential. The Electoral College creates discrepancies like this all over the country. A voter in Wyoming is worth 3.5 times as much as a voter in California.
Really?
And the winner of the presidential election is the candidate who gets 270 or more of these Electoral College votes. These are the results of the 2016 election by state. You're probably more familiar with this version of it, a map of red states and blue states. But this chart tells a different story. You can see that no state is actually all red or all blue. But almost every state awards its electoral votes the same way. The candidate who gets the most votes in a state gets all its electoral votes. If they win the state by 1%, they win 100% of the electoral votes.
That's actually crazy. But I understand it. It's the system you guys have in America. But for 1%, all of the others go away, kind of.
In 2016, more than 4 million people voted for Donald Trump in California. In fact, more people voted for him there than in any other state except for 2. But
Whoa.
it didn't matter. Hillary Clinton got more votes there, so she got all 55 of its electoral votes.
Okay.
Clinton never even campaigned in California. Polling showed she'd easily win the state.
Okay, so basically what I was saying, right? They know that California is blue. They don't even spend time there. I assume maybe the same goes for
The only time they
Texas. In
spend
this case,
time is more like
for
throwing up the local election, the down ballot stuff, that type of stuff. That's what they mostly help out. Like, hey, candidate, represent the party. Can you say some good words? Can you see me at the convention? Do some photo ops, that type of shit.
red is Republicans, right?
Trump only visited Texas once. He knew he'd basically have
Similar.
that state's electoral votes locked.
Okay.
But they both visited Florida 35 or
Well, to be honest, it's quite more close here. You know, it's a bit more close, right?
more.
And unfortunately, not many people vote in Texas compared to California. California is huge. A lot more people vote, and I think it's also a lot easier to vote in there. They do a lot more stuff to encourage people to vote. A lot of stuff not to encourage.
Times. That's because Florida is usually a swing state.
Swing
Polls
state.
show that the vote there could swing to one party or another nearly every election. Trump only won it in 2016 by 100,000 votes, out of more than 9 million. Swing states have changed over time thanks to shifting demographics and political views, and it's states like these where presidential candidates spend most of their time campaigning. It also means these states have way more influence.
So I'm gonna take a guess because I've been watching the news and I see both candidates talking a lot about Pennsylvania. Is Pennsylvania a swing state?
Yes.
And I even saw Elon Musk doing stuff there. So I assume this is probably.
Like, I mean, if Kamala Harris is going to win this, she'll have to win. I mean, if she loses Pennsylvania, she needs to win, Minnesota, Michigan. Wisconsin. I don't know about Florida. Maybe North Carolina has a good chance. Another one. Arizona, Nevada, Arizona. So still. Don't want to say the wrong thing. It was Colorado. I thought Utah. Like, I know this is Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, can't be. Arkansas, not string. There's a large black population in Louisiana. This is 2016. Better throw in Georgia. And then up there is like freaking New Hampshire. I always get those backwards. Oh,
Swing state, that's why they both went to get it.
Influence over the election than these ones. A study found.
By the way, I love my Pennsylvania people. Just want to say that because when we talk about politics, I know it can get a bit toxic, but I just want to be very open with you, my friends. First of all, if I had to vote in America, I would not be able because I don't even know. You guys know much better than me what is the best pet for the country. So I'm not going to share my perspective because I don't have enough knowledge. But I know one thing that most Americans are amazing people, and my Pennsylvania people, oh, those are special.
Found that voters in Michigan had 51 times the amount of influence on the 2016 election as someone from a state like Utah. Voters in states like California or Missouri mattered very little. Swing states are where the election actually takes place. They get the attention and the influence, and they only exist because of the Electoral College. It doesn't seem very fair, but the Electoral College has always shifted power away from some people and towards others. It was how it was designed. Back when there were just a few states, not 50, they had to get all the states to agree on the Constitution. One problem: the northern states, which were largely anti-slavery, wanted only free people to count in the population towards electoral votes, which they had more of. The pro-slavery southern states were worried that they would be constantly outvoted and wanted enslaved people to count in determining the population. As a compromise, they settled on something called the Three-Fifths Clause. It established that an enslaved person would only count as 3/5 of a person. In 1800, Pennsylvania, a northern state, and Virginia, a southern one, had about the same number of free people living there. But Virginia was also home to hundreds of thousands of enslaved people who had no freedom, let alone a vote, and ended up with more votes in the Electoral College than Pennsylvania. That year, those extra electoral votes gave the candidate from Virginia just enough to win.
Thomas Jefferson.
Even after the U.S. finally
Thomas Jefferson is one of the fathers of the country.
abolished slavery and eventually gave Black Americans the right to vote, white Southern leaders found ways to keep them from voting, like with discriminating laws like poll taxes and acts of violence. This meant they continued to have overrepresentation in the Electoral College on behalf of a large population that couldn't vote.
That
The
makes
first
no
time
sense.
Congress attempted to replace the Electoral College with a simple popular vote was back in 1816. But senators from southern states blocked it, saying it would be deeply injurious to them. In 1969, Congress came even closer. Replacing the Electoral College had support in both parties and even passed the House, but it was blocked again by Southern senators. A senator from Alabama wrote, "The Electoral College is one of the South's few remaining political safeguards. Let's keep it. Why change a system that historically had and still was benefiting white Southerners?" Today, the states that the Electoral College benefits have changed, but it's still making some voters more powerful than others.
So Delaware, Alabama, Vermont, Wyoming, North Dakota, Rhode Island, and South Dakota. Interesting.
If we look at the states with a lot of electoral votes for not a lot of people,
Maybe this is maybe Pennsylvania nowadays should be it.
and the states with a little electoral votes for a lot of people, these states are a lot wider and less diverse than the rest of America. And many of these states are Republican strongholds. These tend to vote Democratic. That's one reason the two most recent Republican presidents have won the Electoral College without winning the popular vote. And since it's currently Democrats that are primarily disadvantaged by the Electoral College, they're the ones leading the charge to replace it with a popular vote.
Get rid of the Electoral College
But as politics have changed, the people most critical of the Electoral College have too. In the 1948 presidential election, New York ended up being the major swing state. A congressman from Texas said, "I have no objection to the Negro in Harlem voting, but I do resent the fact that his vote is worth 100 times as much as the vote of a white man in Texas." Swing states change. What doesn't is that the Electoral College gives certain people more power to pick the president. And its
Yeah, that's
biggest
true.
defenders have always been those who benefit the most from it.
I feel this feed will be controversial, my friends.
Yeah, it's not very good. It kind of sucks, but in the end, I mean, it's still working. But should we go with a popular vote? Should we go with a proportional vote? Like, first past the post or whatever they do, like over there in the UK? Yeah, see, person right here, correct, talk about, colonial times. You don't want to get bullied by big states. No one wants to get bullied by big states. Like I've been living in Texas, but am I gonna bully people in Vermont and Wyoming and Utah? New Mexico, the answer is no. That's why we have House of Representatives represented by population and Senate, 2 senators. Hmm. See? Things change. See what is Tex-Mex? Utah. Taking.
There's something going around the Gordon home. Good thing Gertrude found Delsum. Now what's going around is
Very much. Wow.
Holy moly. Damn, that is looking delicious.
Okay, my first ever funnel cake. It looks so much better than the one I made, and there is so much powdered sugar on this bad boy.
That's how it's done.
Okay, I might break a bit off.
What is that, my
allowed?
friends?
Do I have to go all in? Hot.
What's a funnel cake?
Okay, I probably should just bite this.
Today I'll be reacting to Brit's first time at the State Fair of Texas. My friends, this should be an amazing one. I also believe a lot of you guys know this channel, Mr. Agent Friends, so feel free to show them some support. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description and holy, everything is bigger in Texas. Oh, the food here is amazing, right? It's amazing.
It's nothing like a battered sausage at home. It's really actually nice. The sausage is very, very tasty. And the corn
Okay.
batter. You've got to try one.
Mustard, first time, coney dog.
Oh, good.
Corn dog, yeah. Corn dog.
It's amazing.
Whoa! That
Is that good, my friends?
At Rock and Ribs, something similar, but nowhere near as good as this.
No, that one was
Okay, my friends, let's do something different actually. Put number 1 in the chat if you believe this is better than a normal hot dog. Put number 2 if you believe normal hot dog is still better than this one. I take a look at most of the comments, so I'm really curious to see this one.
mediocre, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They both are good. I'll give it 3.
Bloody love you.
Eat for the brisket. Egg root beer.
Yeah. Oh man. I want some root beer now.
My friends, okay, I also have to be honest here. I tried root beer. That video is on my channel, by the way, and I didn't like it. I have to be. That was no.
Hello. Could I go for an original
fried dough with a whole bunch of
Damn, that
powdered
is
sugar.
looking delicious.
Okay, my first ever funnel cake. It looks so much better than the one I made, and there is so much powdered sugar on this bad boy.
That's how it's done.
Okay, I might break a bit off.
What is that, my
allowed?
friends?
Do I have to go all in? It's hot.
What's a funnel cake?
Okay, I probably should just bite this. That is so soft, so much better than the one I made, and it doesn't taste of oil. You've got to try this, love.
Yep.
Try it.
Okay, again, first time having a Texas State Fair funnel cake. It looks amazing. I kind of just want to get as much powdered sugar on this as I can.
Is that good, eh?
Oh.
And yeah, you see, if I was here, I would probably get like cookies and cream, apple cinnamon's good, strawberries good, caramel's good, and chocolate.
Oh,
So, my friends, I know I have some people that know this, right? What is going on with this funnel cake? Why is the name funnel cake?
I can die a happy man now. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Now, I'm not going to be offended, but is it better than the one I made?
Game over.
Whatever I say is going to be wrong,
No,
isn't
no,
it?
no. Honestly, I know my answer.
Yeah.
It's so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, much better.
So much better.
I wouldn't say so much better, but it is better.
It's okay.
Wow.
Amazing. Another 10 out of 10 for me. Oh. I'm just going to eat the whole thing.
Okay, please tell us about the funnel cakes.
Well, so I was going to tell you about my story right here, but this is we're the funnel cake factory. This is my son right here.
Oh, wow.
So we're family business, and one time my son was we had this picture up, and a guy asked me how did he make the funnel cake float? He's got this kind of thing, so we have this kind of magical like funnel cakes are floating out the door.
Ah, I got you.
Because we get really busy and everything.
No, they're brilliant. These are really tasty. I really enjoyed them. Like I said, we tried to make them at home back in the UK, but they taste nothing like this.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yours are phenomenal.
Do you have anything that's similar to this or in the UK or is it?
We sometimes have just like ordinary donuts, fair donuts, but they're a lot stodgier.
Wait, she's comparing this with donuts? My friends, this is typical in Texas or in America overall?
That's
You
the
can
word.
get it pretty
Starchy,
aim
yeah,
steak there.
starchy, fat, but they're not light and fluffy like this and crispy. So we need these in the UK.
Well, we have the best funnel cake makers. They're awesome.
These ladies are awesome.
They're awesome.
They are.
Yes.
So this funnel cake, if this is anything to go by, everyone needs to come down here and get a funnel cake. And we're glad we came over from the UK just to try one.
Whoa, is that turkey legs? Holy. They are smoked, right? Man, they
Yeah,
look delicious.
good.
Man, I'm hungry.
Ups.
Holy turkey leg.
It was a beast, isn't it?
That's bigger than Alana's legs.
It's bigger than
Yeah.
my legs.
So that red color, let's run back. That red color is the barbecue sauce.
A beast, isn't it?
That's bigger than
A normal
Alana's
one.
Sounds
legs.
like
It's bigger than my legs.
You gotta kind of get in there. If you just want to caveman it, it's
Yeah.
hot.
Oh my God, wait.
This is a nightmare.
No, I'm a nightmare. What you need
This is massive. This is a turkey leg
Turkey leg.
on steroids, I think.
That's a small turkey.
That's a small turkey.
A small one.
Oh, wow.
But
Straight Straight away, when I broke through the skin, I could smell the smoke, really tender. Just a beast, honey, you've got to try this.
Wow, it's heavy.
It looks really good.
Not like turkey, that is like ham. That's good.
Oh, like ham.
Wow.
We didn't have anything like that in the UK, do we? Well, not that size.
A bit caveman. Oh, wow, that's good.
That's incredible. Oh, so sweet.
Oh, more?
All. Kids eat a lot at this age.
A big greenhouse where they're growing like
Okay.
vegetables.
What?
Hello, what's that? Is that
The deep fried Reese's.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow, thank you.
Deep fried Reese's.
Y'all have a lot to do. You don't need to spend all your money right here.
Deep fried Reese's. You guys know I bloody love Reese's. Deep fried.
My friends,
I've had
my life just changed.
seen deep
Just
fried butter.
changed
I've seen
English
deep
on the
fried
oh, by the way. Okay.
beer. And I think I've seen deep fried
But
Snickers.
for real,
Not
what
deep
the
fried
hell?
Reese's and ice
You guys fried Oreos? You guys?
Fried Oreos also good.
cream. I just want to just grab it all with my hands, really. I'm literally just going to stick it in my mouth.
You know what? This is the perfect time to introduce my Instagram account. Andre, what? Yeah. My friends, I have been putting some country music reactions on my Instagram account, and I think you guys may like that. So feel free to follow me there. Link on the description. Andre, I don't have an Instagram account. I can't. No worries, my friends. There is also a Facebook link. You can follow me on both, but at least follow me in one of those. Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely and nice and warm.
What?
Oh,
Oh boy. That's good.
man. As soon as you bite into it, you get the Reese's coming straight through. Lovely and warm, deep fried. That with the combination with the ice cream, absolutely amazing. Brandon, thank you so much for getting this for us. Honey, you got to try this.
Okay, not being a massive Reese's fan, I'm not sure how this is going to go down. Let's try it.
There is something wrong with that quote. I'm not a massive Reese's fan. Everyone likes Reese's. What is the best chocolate in the world?
There's some ice cream as well, there.
Okay.
I don't know what that batter is, but it works so well. It's almost like a pancake, but like the flavours going together, not the texture at all. It's good, good. Wouldn't be my favourite thing to eat, but if you like Reese's, get this.
Wait. I thought his reaction, I was expecting if he likes Reese's, right? Well, let's eat again.
You got to try this.
Okay, not being a massive...
Just want to just grab it all with my hands, really. I'm literally just going to stick it in my mouth.
Okay.
Oh, it's lovely and nice and warm.
Damn.
I want to try this out, man. Yeah. Maybe they might have it at my local fair here where I live. Definitely check that out.
Oh, it's amazing. Never mind. I kind of missed the reaction.
Now, as soon as you bite...
One of my favorite movies is, this is an old movie, is a pig that lives in a farm.
Oh, wow.
This is a classic, I feel like.
Thank you. Cheers. You too. Deep fried Oreos. I don't actually know what to expect, apart from deep fried Oreo. But...
Okay.
Oh, wow.
This is a classic, I feel like, at this point.
Oh, I think I got some powder in the back of my throat, but that's really, that is really good.
It's amazing, my
I
friends.
actually prefer that to the
Let's
Reese's,
go.
believe it or not. I'm not sure if it's the batter, but it's really fresh. Really, really fresh. Really, really...
This one seems a bit more consistent. Is that the
Yes,
word in English?
that's right. Yeah. Deep fried Oreo are very good. If you know how to make them, you make them very consistently. Because like it comes like Oreos are much more consistent. You ever open up a box of Oreos and you go try to open up a bag of friggin' Reese's. The Reese's are usually 99% of the time melted shit. But Oreos always good.
I hope so, because that's what I meant.
Chase, I don't know if you can see inside there.
Oh, that looks good.
That is a win
Real
for me.
good.
You want to try some, love?
Okay, so I'm gonna just take a bite of this one because I am actually getting full and I've not actually had that much food yet. Well, I have actually. It's a lot of action.
Anyone watching ever tried deep fried Oreos?
It's a mind over matter thing because of the batter. Reminds me of sweet and sour chicken balls that you get at the Chinese. So eating that with an Oreo just feels a bit strange. The Oreo is really nice. I might go different. I think I preferred the Reese's. I have a little bite there.
Okay, they disagree on this one.
Still good though. Really good.
Fine. If she likes the peanut butter Reese's cup more than this one, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good stuff. So.
Yeah.
Oh no! No one eat that one.
Well, that's one.
I don't think we would have done it as successfully without.
What else? Air tots. Dumpling. That was interesting. Him or was it someone? Talk about like the cost of living or something else. That one. Like fry again. Let's see. Hope I didn't miss it. Foods, buffalo wings. Not crazy. Maybe it was someone else who did. Okay, here we go.
At Ross,
Sorry.
save big on brands on brands on brands.
Oh yeah, brands on brands on.
To live in.
All right. BRB. I'm gonna go. Where do we go with water? BRB, guys. Told those assholes to wait somewhere, and now I do not know where. Suits and black suits too. Hanamura, Akiyama, Aijima, Kazuma Kiryu. Famous shot of all four of them together. Millennium Tower. Which looks. Save that for the bitch ass. Come on, come on. Oh, look at that. Embarrassing. I messed up. I messed up. Oh fuck, I messed up so badly on that one. Health and beauty, she's second to none when it comes to looking fabulous. Oh my god. Slay queens. Oh my god, yeah, I need to slay. Oh shit! Oh my god. Oh, I beat her! Fuck yes. That was fucking easy. Oh no, I'm just kidding. I took me like what? 2, 3, 4 streams? Yeah, at least 2, 3 streams. Like 2 streams on that boss rush, at least I think so. I was stream on this one. Woo. Yes! We did. Hey! No, dead. I've got grappling hook now. Oh, look at him. Look at that fucking glitch. Why?
In a way I did.
Oh, what the? She's fucking... Another glitch.
Which I did not tell you about. I didn't feel like talking about it then. What
Oh
happened?
boy.
Maybe
God, hold the line. They all came back.
What the fuck is going on here? This is a glitch. Oh no, wait, no, wait. She's actually impaled. Just can't tell. Nice. Got me a free gun.
In America, my friends, I'm super excited for this one. But
Alright,
before I
guys.
go into that,
I'm back.
let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. If you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Now, link for the original video in my description and what?
This is what a $25 million a year salary looks like versus a $25,000 a year salary. About 20% of Americans live on this amount of money or less. I want to show you the lifestyles of people who make this much money versus this much money.
Oh, wow.
And everything in between. The reason I want to look at these differences is because of this graph. It's going...
Wait, so this is the long run inequality trend. Basically, yeah. We are, but I guess this is something we are seeing in the entire world. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor, and that's quite obnoxious to be open with you, my friends. But do you guys think this got quite worse in the last, let's say, 4 years, 5 years with inflation after the COVID situation? I wonder how you guys are feeling this in America. Here in Europe is quite bad, but I mean, you know.
Going up, which is a problem. Let's start with $25,000 a year.
All right, so let's say my name is George. I live.
So to give you some context, the 25,000
Here's some sounds
if
of eating
taxes
chips.
are already paid, it's good to live here in Portugal. So if you guys are wondering that, it's not good. Don't think you will be living like a king. It's okay. But you can make it. A lot of people make lags after taxes, for sure. But in America, I feel like this is not enough, right?
Live in Atlanta, Georgia. I am single and I have no kids. And I'm looking for a job. After some search.
Okay, before we see what George is about to find out, let me say one thing. Portugal is similar to America in one sense. If you want to live in Lisbon, things will be really expensive. For example, if you want to live in Los Angeles or something, it's a weird comparison, but you guys get the point. But I live in a small city, for example, so it's quite cheaper to live where I am.
Searching, I found this job as a security guard at a TV studio in downtown Atlanta. It'll pay me $12.50 an hour, which is quite a bit more than the minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Let's assume I work 40 hours a week, and I work every week except 2 that I set aside for holidays, sickness, and vacation. This means I make $25,000 a year. At this level,
Damn, but he is actually very well paid per hour, right? I thought the amount of money would be a bit more.
around 29% of Americans earn as much or less than me. So,
I'm probably making. I'm making that much. My paychecks are not good, terrible, very small. Can't really pay off much debt.
So how will I spend it? This comes out to be just over $2,000 a month that I have to spend. I gotta pay taxes. That brings me down to $1,764 to live on this month. To calculate this next part for this income and all of the incomes we're looking at, I used some data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics that shows that people in this income bracket spend about 41% of their pre-tax income on housing. I've got about $850 for all my housing expenses. That's nearly half my after-tax budget. I'll definitely be renting instead of owning a house at this budget. A lot of landlords these days require you to earn 3 times more the monthly rent. So I'm probably gonna need roommates if I'm gonna get approved for an apartment. All right, let's look at Craigslist. I really can't afford to live downtown, so I'm gonna look in the outskirts. And I found this place right outside the city. This is gonna work, and it's within my budget for rent and utilities.
750 just for a bedroom. Oh wow. No, for 750, again, forget Lisbon, but in most cities you can get an apartment or even an house, you know. Holy.
So how am I gonna get to my job?
I know you guys don't care about Portugal, but I guess I need to put
It up. Yeah, man, having a car is expensive. Tires, oil, gasoline, all that shit. Sucks. I wish we had better public transportation here in America, especially like a state like Texas. But we don't. Fucking.
this in some contest, you know.
Which is in downtown Atlanta. That's 20 minutes away from where I live. And like most American cities, there's not great public transportation here, so I'm gonna need to have a car. Let's just say in this assumption, and it's kind of a big assumption, that I already have a car. And let's assume it's this car. It's a 2004 Toyota Solara that I got on Facebook Marketplace. Lower income Americans spend more on their income for transportation than any other segment of the population. The data we'll use says about 15% of pre-tax income is
Why? Oh, because they have the car is a bit worse, so the car have a lot of problems, I'm assuming.
Spent on transportation. So that's $313 for gas, insurance, parking, and saving up for maintenance and repairs. We gotta be pretty careful about how much extra driving we do, and hope that no big maintenance issues arise. According to this BLS data, I spend about 15% of my income on food. That includes both groceries and eating out. That's $313 a month for food. A lot of people think that this income bracket just goes to McDonald's all of the time, but the reality is the average order amount at McDonald's is between $7 and $8, so that will not get me through the month. That will get me through 13 days worth of food. So I gotta go to the grocery store. Unfortunately, in most lower income areas in this country, there aren't a ton of grocery stores, and the ones that are available are much less likely to carry fresh produce or other nutritious food. So I'm gonna see what I can do by stocking up on beans and rice, peanut butter and jelly, Wonder Bread, Top Ramen, freezer meals. For fresh options, I'll be looking at potatoes and some of the cheaper produce, and no eating out, or rarely, occasionally, on special occasions, eating out.
Sorry for a random question, but what the hell is Applebee's? I see this all the time. Is this some type of fast food chain or something?
I do.
That's
I'll be
casual
looking
restaurant.
at the value menu at a fast food restaurant. I'll be looking for discounts, checking every price in the convenience store. Okay, but wait, don't I get government assistance for food, like food stamps? So from my research, I can see that to get government assistance, I need my savings account to be less than $2,000. Check. My income needs to be lower than $19,578, and I make $25,000, so nope, I don't qualify.
Okay, so we've covered our basic needs of housing, food, and transportation, but I still have a lot of expenses. We hear a lot about healthcare being a massive personal cost in the US, but what does that actually look like? Georgia's Medicaid website says
Ooh, I'm so curious to see this one because healthcare here is free. So you guys already know that. Before there is a smart dandy putting in the comments, you guys pay a lot of taxes. Okay, my friend, I get it, but the reality I live is that. But I wonder, in terms of a percentage, how much Americans pay.
Says that I qualify for government help, but even with that, I will be paying around 10% of my income on health-related expenses like medicine, doctor visits, getting care that isn't covered by this government insurance. This is one of the reasons why people in my income bracket live around 7 years less than the richest Americans. After all these main expenses, I'm left with a small amount of money for everything else. And there's a lot more that I need to spend just to live. Laundry, internet connection, cell phone. Conservatively, that adds up to $105, not taking into account the overcharges and hidden fees. Like, you're starting to see what's happening here. This doesn't add up. Entertainment, fitness, and travel just isn't feasible. I have no emergency savings, no rainy day fund, and live in stress of an unexpected car repair, a health emergency. Any of these unexpected charges could be a major setback.
My friends, how true is this? In the sense that the numbers make sense here, but for example, don't you guys think that 750 is a lot for the housing? I think that was the spot that maybe could be a bit lower. Because imagine if you can find a room in a different location, but
also,
maybe it does not make as much. But maybe a room for 400 or 500. Is that impossible in America? This is really interesting, actually. Because gives you a nice perspective of.
You don't make a lot of money. You don't make a lot of money, and you can't spend it on a lot of stuff. So. All right, Lib. That's why I'm stuck at home. And, find something better, There's way better pay, benefit, things I need.
How different classes live in America.
I'm probably gonna have to join.
Leave a like I said, because this is a different type of content, my friends. So it means a lot to me that you guys are watching this, and leaving a like helps the video to be shown to more people.
And the huge number of Americans that rely on debt to get through the month, whether that's credit card debt or short-term loans with high interest rates. Maybe I'll need to move back in with my parents or take on a second job. Maybe I'll start driving Uber or DoorDash. But what's clear is that my full-time job, which pays much more than the minimum wage, is still not enough to make it through the month.
All right, now let's see what we can do with $40,000 a year.
Now
I think with 40,000 we can live decent.
My name is Simon. I am the representative of the median American income of a single earner. I make $40,000 a year as an event coordinator at a country club in Atlanta. My $40,000 salary gives me just over $3,000 a month. After federal and state taxes, I'm left with just under $2,700. Using that same data set, my budget for housing is $1,133. I'm kind of feeling this one-bedroom house. Let's say between rent for this house and my utilities, I'm paying $1,133 for my monthly housing expenses. The country club is kind of far from my house, and because there's no public transportation, I'm gonna need a car. I saved up and purchased this 2011 Subaru Forester on Facebook Marketplace. I got it for $4,500. So, like George, I spend about $136 a month just on gas to get to my job. This leaves me with a little over $400 for everything else. Guys gotta
Things are not looking good anymore at all.
eat. What am I gonna do for food? According to the BLS data, someone like me spends around $467 a month on food. I typically spend about $100 a week on groceries and can use the rest on a dinner out or two. I've got a Kroger grocery store 4 minutes away from my house. And at this point, I'm definitely cognizant of every price on these shelves. I'm using coupons, trying to get the best deal, but I have leeway to spend a little bit more on maybe a decent cut of meat or some fresh produce. Maybe I buy organic every once in a while. I can comfortably feed myself if I'm smart about how I spend and I don't eat out too much.
Okay.
This income level is right on the threshold where
Okay, I'm done eating chips. Don't have to worry about that anymore.
where employers start to sponsor your healthcare plan. They start to subsidize it. That's a thing here in America. And luckily, my employer does. But even still, I spend $300 a month on health, medicine.
Sephora is everywhere you are. So when mom's birthday is tomorrow, hop in for a gift on your way home.
Wait, but he said it was sponsored. Why
Yeah.
spending $300?
Out-of-pocket doctors, pre-deductible expenses, and now I get to pay for a gym. I signed up for this.
Okay, if you are a bit older, I understand you spend a bit more. But for example, I don't go to the doctor that much. Even if I did not have the free healthcare here, I know I would have to pay some type of insurance or something. But going to the doctor, at least, I understand, my friends. Not everyone is healthy, and some people have some chronic problems, and I have full compassion for those situations. But most young people, you know what I'm trying to say? Okay, this is interesting. Sorry.
And now I get to pay for a gym. I signed up for this low-cost gym for $10 a month. So after covering these basic needs, I have $231 left for everything else, all of my other essentials. Laundry, cell phone, internet brings me down to $126. I will try to put some of this away for an emergency or a trip, put it into a savings account with a good interest rate so it will grow over time. But to be honest, I'm probably gonna spend this on entertainment. Like, I wanna go out and have fun. I wanna go to a movie. I wanna subscribe to Hulu and Netflix. I might buy a book, might go out with some friends. And after all of that,
this buying a book is not smart. You should go to the public library, right, and get them for free.
That I end up around zero. So all in all, I'm doing better than George, but not that much better. I've got some money left over at the end of the month, but an emergency expense would still leave me.
Okay, but I disagree with him. I'm not doing much better than George. No, because you are having better food, better housing, better transport. So he's doing much better.
But he has to spend more. Like taxes are more, housing much, spend a lot more. That car, clothes you a lot more. Healthcare is good, doesn't cover everything.
In terms of money, it's kind of the same, I would say, right? $200, not even that, to 150 apart. But he's living much better. I mean, not a top quality life, but much better.
Me in debt. All right, let's up this to $100,000 a year and
now we are balling.
See what our budget looks like.
Let's be real.
Okay, now I'm Tim, and I just found this job in sales. It makes me $100,000 a year. I'm officially in the six figures. I make 4 times more than George and double the median income.
My friends, if you are in the six figures here, you are living the life.
Income that Simon makes. I'm now near the top 10% of earners.
Wish I could be in the middle, man. I'm at the very bottom. I'm at the bottom 20%. I'm this guy right here.
More
I want to change my life. I want to do something. I can't. So that's why I'm here streaming. It somehow saves my life.
And double the median income.
My friends, if you are in the six figures here, you are living alive.
That Simon makes. I'm now near the top 10% of earners in this country. My salary gives me $8,333 every month. $2,200 of that is going to go to taxes, and I'm left with just over $6,000. In this income bracket, you see that people spend around 30% of their income on housing. Until recently, this salary would have been more than enough to buy a house, but these days, not so much. But
what? The guy makes 100 100k per year and cannot buy a house. My friends, what the hell is going on in America? If you make 100k in a year, in Portugal you are living like a king. Holy sweet potato.
For the case of our assumption, let's assume that I, Tim, have been saving for 10 years and I'm finally ready to purchase my first home. Zillow is telling me that I can afford a house that's around $314,000. I'm gonna buy this nice one-bedroom townhouse in Atlanta. It's got these nice wood floors, all of this natural light. Oh wait, no. Looks like there's a condo fee, $426 per month, probably for that
400 per month to have access to a gym.
Fancy workout room. Okay, we're gonna have to keep looking. Okay, I found one. It's a one-bedroom condo. It's got a fireplace, access to a pool and a fitness room. It's in a pretty good location, and it's just under $260,000. With the condo fee, I'll be paying around $2,700 per month, which is about 32% of my income for housing. I get to...
Okay, my friends, my head is about to explode. What the hell is this condo fee? Condominium fee? Why do you have to pay so much for that? That's basically what you pay for renting an house here. What? So all the American suburbs have to pay this condo fee?
Yeah, an HOA house. Well, homeowners insurance, yeah. Especially if you live in the suburbs, yeah. These guys are the worst people. They also do condos, townhouses, houses. Everyone hates them. Asshole. Don't like them. They jack up your prices and taxes, man.
What if you have a piece of land and you build an house there? You don't pay the condo fee. Oh my god.
Spend more on housing than George and Simon make in a month. Oh, and by the way, I will have to cough up $20,000, which is my whole savings, for a 5% down payment and closing costs to make this house purchase. Thanks to my good credit, I can qualify for a good car loan that allows me to buy this beauty, a $50,000 BMW. It'll cost me $754 a month for 5 years, and it will leave me with $579 every month to spend on gas, repairs, and insurance. I'm even starting to be able to afford to bring it to a professional car wash place, get it detailed every couple months.
I mean, come on. The guy.
I love how he uses the
I feel
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Like
Life kind of
he's
sound.
making all the tiers to look bad because you first of all you don't need a BMW, right? You can buy a cheaper one and would be good. And now you have other people actually cleaning the car for you.
I am upper middle class now, so I only have to pay 11% of my income on food per month just to feed myself. I get to eat out a lot more lately. When I'm at the grocery store, I get to peruse the fresh and nutritious food much more abundantly. I can buy nice meat and nice produce. I'm not overly concerned about the prices. And lately, since meal delivery apps have become more common, I'm ordering DoorDash like once or twice a week. I'm starting to be able to
DoorDash? We don't have this one here. We have Uber Eats.
Use money to save myself time and stress. My job pays for a lot of my health insurance, and yet I still pay $500 a month on health, medicine, and these kind of expensive supplements I've been buying. I'm able to...
Wait. So, my friends, this thing, please.
Yes, the health insurance will cover things, at the doctor, clinics, and stuff. You still need to go to the pharmacy to buy pharmacy. And that type of stuff. You need cold medicine. You need to give her like some sports that you want to buy. Blood pressure machine. All that is like out of pocket stuff. and obviously buys anti supplements, hair and dick.
Please explain me this. If you make more money, you have to pay more for your health. Basically, some type of insurance related with the money you make. You are maybe more important for the company, so they really need to know that you have great health. I'm making a lot of this stuff up to be fair, but the healthcare is going up and up.
Save money at this point so that a minor medical emergency isn't a huge deal. But the doctors I do go to have to be covered by my insurance plan. I can't go out of network. It would be too expensive to pay out of pocket. With all my big expenses covered, I still have $665 to cover Wi-Fi, unlimited data on my phone, and since laundry and a gym are in my apartment, I actually don't need to use much cash for that. So even after all of these essentials, I have money to save and invest. And even still, I have cash left over to go out with friends. Every few months,
but the guy keeps saying laundry. You can buy a machine and do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
I'm able to save up enough to go on vacation. My
Lisbon. Oh, crazy. Welcome to Portugal, my friend.
Work pays me even when I'm taking time off, so I don't need to worry about that. I do have to strategically choose my travel.
You know what? I never said this, but I'm going to say it today. Sorry.
Few months, I'm able to save up enough to go on vacation. My work
beautiful
pays me
Portugal
even when I'm taking
again.
time off, so I don't need to worry about that. I do have to strategically choose my travel locations to make sure that they're affordable. Because I chose a cheaper place, I'm able to enjoy drinks and food while I'm there. When I come home, I do have to save and scrounge for a couple of months to recuperate, but it's not too stressful. Not bad, and in fact, much better than the vast majority of Americans.
All right, now let's up this to a...
Honestly, I feel like with a few changes, the guy could save a lot of money with 100K. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
But the guy was also living an amazing life. I mean, to be honest, with that amount of money, I would expect that you could live that life and still save a lot. But I guess it's not the case. Now he's what, 200 maybe?
$1 million a year.
Oh, no, okay, no.
That's like professional player.
With 1 million, we are not living a king life. I deal with my channel.
And see what our budget starts to look like.
Hi, my name is Noah. I am a junior managing director at a big private equity fund. I'm in finance.
I'm looking for a man in finance.
I work 70 hours a week. I make big deals. They're very important. And I am earning $1 million a year. That is $83,000 a month. After taxes, it's more like $48,000 a month. In 1 month.
Damn, the number went down so fast.
Yeah, taxes, man. He actually pays those taxes. I mean, he's rich.
Private
So
equity fund.
not a lot of loopholes.
I'm looking for a man in finance.
I work 70 hours a week. I make big deals. They're very important. And I am earning $1 million a year. That is $83,000.
He went from 83 to 30. Half. I guess, yeah, that's the tier where you have to give half away, right?
A month. After taxes, it's more like $48,000 a month.
Well, to be honest, I will never win this type of money. But you know what? Maybe
he's making as much money.
I still feel weird for
2 weeks or at the end of every month as much as the guy who was like his salary is $40K, middle class guy.
People that pay 50% of their
I wish I could be. Me, I am poor as fuck. I am at the very bottom. That's why I'm hoping, you guys have some mercy on me and hey, there could be pretty good, YouTubers / content creators / influencers.
It's a bit unfair if you, Andre, but they have so much. But you guys think 50% isn't a bit crazy? I don't know. I mean, this is a complex topic. Never mind.
In 1 month, I'm making double what George makes in an entire year. In 3 years, I'll make more than he makes in an entire lifetime.
Okay.
I've got some serious money to work with here. Like, I'm officially among the top 1% of income earners in this country. And I'm very lucky because my income and wealth are increasing at a faster rate than everyone else's. And we'll see why in just a second. Making this much money, I can get a really nice house by spending 28% of my income, which means I can afford around a $2.6 million house. Wow, this one's kind of nice. This 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home in this quiet Atlanta suburb. Man, It is nice here. Look at this kitchen. Oh, and this beautiful yard out here. I might pick up croquet. And it even comes with this little friend. Hey, bud. I've always wanted my own taxidermy fox. This house is gonna cost me around $19,000 every month for the mortgage and
20k per month.
Yeah, man.
It's ridiculous. Okay, but we are making.
That's how much that guy before him, the one who made 100k, saved up. Had 20k, I think it was like a down payment, 5%.
1 million. Okay, Noah, you know what you are doing.
other expenses, like house cleaners that come once a week to clean my entire house and do my laundry. My yard is maintained by a local landscaping company. I'm spending 16% of my income on transportation, which means a little over $13,000 a month on everything cars and planes. Instead of owning a car, I lease one in 3-year periods so that I can always be driving the newest, fanciest car. Like this Rivian. It's gonna cost me about $1,000 a month all in. I can totally afford that. I'm also taking a lot of taxis lately because I can afford it. And I can afford a private driver here and there, though I don't have a full-time private driver. I can hop on a flight too whenever I want. And when I fly internationally, I even splurge on business class. Still pretty expensive, but I've got all of these airline miles that I've racked up from all of my work travel that I actually get upgraded for free often. And now I'm actually pretty hungry, so let's talk about food. My budget for food has ballooned.
Wait. My friend, but so this guy is living the life. But don't you guys think that a lot of people, I don't even know probably anyone that makes 1 million, to be honest with you, but people that make 1 million, maybe some people really go crazy and spend all of their money. But I also believe there is a good amount.
Well, the people who are bad at spending all their money on shit, those are usually young, impressionable, usually sports athletes. We have NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, EPL. They're the ones who waste all their fucking money.
Of people in this category that is actually quite cheap. You know, the guy maybe drives even a old car and stuff like that. But I guess the idea is to spend all the money, right?
And now I'm actually pretty hungry, so let's talk about food. My budget for food has ballooned. Based on the BLS data, I could technically...
Oh, this guy is eating Texas barbecue every day. Every day.
afford to spend $8,000 on food every month. But I'm not sure that's totally common among this income bracket. There's not a ton of good data on like the 1%ers. So I estimate that somebody in this bracket is spending more like $3,500 per month on food, which is still a lot. I'm officially deep in the don't look at food prices, don't shop for my own groceries, don't worry about ordering takeout whenever I want kind of rich. I could pay 20 bucks for a salad. I can pay $16 for a smoothie. I could even drop $300 per person on a nice restaurant and not really be too stressed about it. Now, I can't afford a private chef yet, but I have opted for a high-end meal service that delivers dinners to my house. I have to work a lot. The difference is that per hour, my hours are much more financially valuable. George, Simon, and Tim all had to spend a lot of their hours cooking and cleaning and traveling around, but I can just pay to get a lot of that time back. I could technically afford to spend $4,000 a month on health, but again, we estimate that it's a little bit lower, more like $2,500, which would still mean a totally different healthcare world. I can go to any doctor, I can pay for a therapist out of pocket, I can easily afford to see a specialist for any kind of preventative care, physical therapy, elective surgeries, even stuff that isn't covered by my very good insurance. I can pay for it. I can pay out of pocket, and it's not too crazy for me. And even though I have a gym in my house because I converted one of the mini rooms into a gym, I actually pay for another nice gym membership at this luxury spa and gym so that I can use their hot tub and sauna. I also get in on their personal trainers who are really great. I recently signed up for this fancy doctor's office where I pay a monthly fee and I never have to wait more than 10 minutes in the waiting room. Remember, my time is extremely valuable. And this is one reason why my life expectancy is way up here. I'm probably gonna live 7 or 8 years longer than George. Laundry, cell phone bills, Wi-Fi, these are all negligible costs for me. I'm left with at least $10,000. And it could be way more if I reduced some of these assumptions, like spending thousands of dollars every month on food for just me. So what do I do with all this leftover money? Well, I do have a semi-complicated investment portfolio that I love to talk about. My money is in the stock market, 24/7, growing, compounding into more and more wealth. It allows my wealth to grow much faster than those who don't.
Yeah, see, this is the thing, my friends. You guys know I love capitalism, but unless, please, my
If I really knew, if I had the money, man, I knew how to invest in this. So nice, man. If I know how to do, kind of copy what Noah can do, even as smaller,
friends, let's not become all political here, but I feel like this is where there is a valid point when people say the rich get richer. I mean, because money makes money, and if you are the first guy with the 25 per year, it's difficult you cannot invest in this type of stuff. I mean, you are not even being able to have good food, so imagine.
Have extra money to invest. I go on vacations, though they do get interrupted by work. My job is very important. For international trips, I do sometimes splurge on business class tickets so I can lay down on the flight. What's interesting though is that even at this crazy income bracket, people can still blow their money every month, trying to keep up with their
This is a very bad argument. By the way, I love this guy, makes great videos, but you can blow your money even if you make 100 million per month. You can do it. So
expanding lifestyle. But let's be clear, they're living unrecognizable lives to the previous income tiers we've talked about. So let's see what happens next.
All right, now let's see what happens when we turn this into $25 million a year, which is an amount of money that some
with that amount of money, I buy my city.
People in this country actually make every year. Let's see what their budget looks like.
My name is Robert. You'll never hear about me because I am the owner of a highly successful national car wash chain. Or maybe I'm the CEO of Zillow or Chevron. Or maybe I'm a pretty famous celebrity and I make $25 million a year. Noah was already in the top 1% of income earners, but now I am truly in the ranks of the global elite. And we need to pause and talk about how rich people think about their wealth. At this point, we have to start to rethink money because people at this income bracket.
Wait, but 25 million is not a lot. No, sorry. Right. I didn't mean to say that. What I mean is it's not a lot when you compare, for example, with Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all of those guys that are billionaires. Yeah, this is poor people for them. If you really put in perspective, damn, man. There is a lot of money in the world, but a lot of people also have a lot.
Think less about their yearly...
Not a lot, but there is a... You understood my point. Actually, this is a good time to introduce one thing. Andrea, are you going to talk about money? No, the opposite of that, actually. My friends, I have an Instagram account where I put country music reactions. I'm not sure how I will connect this video with this self-promotion, but either way. Go to there if you like country music reactions, my friends. I've been putting, I would say, 1 or 2 per day. You might find some value on that, and you may laugh at my reactions. Andrea, I don't have Instagram. No worries. There is a Facebook account also. Follow me in one, but if you want to follow me on both, that will be even better.
Salary, and more about the total value of all of the stuff they own, their net worth. Most of my pay is in stocks, not cash. I spend money knowing that I have all of these assets that I could sell if needed, even if it doesn't come to me in a paycheck every month.
If this was me, most of my money would be in stocks, comic books, Pokemon cards. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd.
Which is actually really great because I'm not taxed on this stuff unless I sell it for cash. And even then, I'm taxed at like 15 to 20%, which means that in a lot of years, my tax rate will be less than Tim, who makes $100,000. I'm paying less of my income in taxes than he is. This is very good for my net worth. So let's see what I can buy.
As part of our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste program, every Kroger store rescues surplus fresh food to feed those in need in our communities.
All right, sure.
Now, given my gargantuan income, I could technically afford this house. It has a pool, it's got this really cool statue, and this garden that looks like it's straight out of Princess Diaries.
I don't want to be a princess!
But because I'm planning to buy my summer house in Italy this year, I'm gonna go with something a little bit more modest like this one.
Okay.
I really like this house. The door.
He should have bought a house in Portugal. That was his mistake, and could afford the other one.
Doorknob in the shape of someone's hand, the animal print details, the golf room. I love this golf room. I mean, what can I say? I'm Robert. I'm an eccentric boy. This house has a pool, it's got a gym, it's got this wooden tub, which is something I never thought I needed, but I absolutely do. What you'll start to see with this house and everything else in this income bracket is how it allows me to physically isolate myself from the concerns that most people have. I don't have to think about crime, homelessness, noise, pollution. I can live surrounded only by people who are wealthy like me. Getting around is really easy for me. I've got a couple of cars. I rotate driving them every once in a while, except for this one.
No pickup truck. Another mistake by him.
This one I don't drive because it's an antique and I just like to look at it. Oh, and did I mention I have a full-time driver? I pay him $51,000 a year. He whisks me around from important meeting to important meeting. I'm spending 2 times what George makes in a year to pay for this, and it's totally worth it because it saves me time. When I travel, he drives me.
You know what? The move is to be the guy that drives his car.
Right onto the runway, where I jump into a private jet. Now, I don't own this jet yet, but I do charter private flights. Like when I need to fly from Atlanta to New York, it costs me about $27,000 for this 2-hour flight. I can easily do that. 27 grand feels to me what $43 feels like to Simon. I'll pay that for a nice private jet. No, I don't fly private all of the time. I do fly commercial if I'm going on vacation to Paris. I'll be flying first class, obviously. I have a separate security checkpoint, my own lounge, and when I get on the plane, I get one of those little cabins all to myself. By the way, this ticket cost me $31,000. When I get to Paris, I usually book the penthouse in one of my favorite hotels. I have hotel staff available at any moment.
Wait. Why Lisbon was used for the lower tier, actually the second or something, right? And or no, maybe even
it's Paris.
I think the second guy was also not having trips. But now that we are rich, we are going to Paris. What?
I cook? No, I do not cook. I enter grocery stores only when I feel like it would.
Well, my friends, if that makes you feel rich, I also don't cook. But that's the only thing I have in common with him.
Be fun to feel like a regular person for a moment.
Hey, chef, do you want to cut this up for her?
And yet, magically, when I open my refrigerator, everything I need is in there. It's all been fully designed by my nutritionist, purchased by my house manager, prepared by my personal chef. And yes, you can see I have a whole staff of people who help me manage my life. My house manager is really good at just making this all disappear. Like the landscaping gets done, the pool gets cleaned, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't even know. I'm sure all of this costs a lot of money, but honestly, I've never even thought about it.
Whatever.
I've got my friends over, and our personal chef is putting together a beautiful meal, and he's even doing the wine pairing tonight, selected from my collection of quirky cult wines in my temperature-controlled cellar. I don't pay attention to prices for food or wine, except when knowing the price of this bottle, for example, helps confirm how rare and special it is. I think we spent $16,000 on this bottle. Or this other one that I splurged on for $150,000. I go out to restaurants, but it's a little different than the rest of the world. I have connections that allow me to get into the private back room of whatever restaurant I want. Okay, this is insane. And while these costs are very feasible for someone who makes $25 million, not everyone who earns this much money lives like this. In fact, a lot of super rich people are incredibly frugal, making their high earnings that much more impactful because they can get rich much faster. But what we see with Robert is that you actually could spend this much money on food and housing given your income, and many do. So in addition to my nutritionist and chef, I have a personal trainer and health coach who comes to my house every day and guides me through my workout. He even travels with me to keep me exercising while I'm on the road. I have a private doctor who is on call, who comes to my house. I pay her 20 grand a year just to be on call. She's available, and she'll come do whatever I need, like a quick steroid shot to my bum knee before I play a game of tennis. My healthcare is mostly preventative. I get all the scans and tests and routines done to ensure that I'm in tip-top shape. I can afford any surgery or healthcare routine or procedure that I want. And last year,
being so fucking rich, you can get all that awesome shit. All that nice healthcare, nice personal nutrition.
I fully replaced all of my front teeth with veneers. It only cost me $28,000. And remember, $28,000 for me is what it feels like when Tim spends $112, or what George feels like spending $28. Not nothing, but not a huge deal. Even after spending on all of this, I still have...
Damn, that's actually crazy to put in perspective. Sorry, that's okay. That actually is kind of crazy.
Lots of money that my financial manager funnels into sophisticated investment portfolios that just keep on growing. Investing can be really fun for me at this point. I'll just take 30 grand here and there to buy collector's items that I'm into. A couple weeks ago, I paid $5,000 for this authentic World War II helmet. This piece of art cost me 50 grand, but it's a great investment because the artist is actually going to be the next big thing. So,
you know what? The sad thing is, this is true. People sometimes buy this type of stuff.
If I had that money, man,
so
dude, I'll be buying all cool ass guns and shit. Yeah, I'll be the rich guy with guns, man.
Ugly.
That's what I want. That's what the kind of life I want.
Be the next big thing. So this stuff is fun, but it also contributes to my net worth because all of this retains and grows in value. And my clever accountant has recently mentioned that he found a way to occasionally sell this stuff and get a nice tax break on the profits. Now listen, I make a meaningful difference in my community with philanthropy. Like, I'm donating $500,000 to my family foundation, which is promoting education in the city. Funneling money and assets into this foundation allows me to get some really nice tax breaks, helps me avoid capital gains tax, and it gives me a buzz of feeling like I'm a generous millionaire. I even donated a few $100,000 to my nephew's private school last year. They didn't really need the money, but now they're putting my name at the top of their donor list, which is like really great. And even after all of this, I've got tons of leftover income. I'm easily able to cover the mortgage on my secondary property in Lake Como. It's only $30,000 a month. And the views here are just chef's kiss. I mean, look at it. One of my favorite parts about this level of wealth is how much
money is left at this point.
Access I now have to obscure elite clubs, like this one in New York called Core. I had to pay 50 grand for an initiation fee and then $17,000 annually, but it allows me to rub shoulders with really important people. And yes, there are echelons above me that someday maybe I'll reach, but I'm still existing on a fully different plane than most every single person in the world. Almost every stressor that you can think of, I can pay away. And the ones that I can't pay away, like heartbreak, grief, and social anxiety, I won't be able to pay that away at any level of wealth. I am protected financially from just about any emergency that could occur in my life. And so long as I manage my finances responsibly, I will never experience life below this level of wealth. The difference between these levels of income is kind of hard to fathom. If you're in the $25 million camp, you make more in 1 hour than George makes in 6 months. In just one 8-hour workday, you're making more than George makes in 4 years. 100 years ago, the divide between the rich and the poor was incredibly stark in this country. The top 1% would bring home 20% of all of the income. But then look what happened.
Okay, the top 1%, oh, that's a lot. 1% was bringing 20%.
We kind of fixed it. We taxed the super rich. The working class organized and rose up, fighting for fair pay. Okay. And by the 1980s, it was more like 10% of the income went to the top 1%. But watch what happens next.
Oh no. Oh.
We're going back up. And we're leaving people like George in a trap. It's not hard to see why someone like George would have lost faith in our government and our...
My friends, do you guys agree with this? Or do... You know what? The last time I reacted to him, and
yeah, who's the guy who's thinking 40K?
To get the best deal. Maybe I'll need to move back in with my parents. Federal and state taxes. I'm left with just...
Simon, I move up to
just under $2,700. You comes to my house.
Damn it, hell.
I people like George in a trap. It's not hard to see why someone like George would have lost faith in our government and our.
My friends, do you guys agree with this, or do you know what? The last time I reacted to him, and I'm gonna be real. A lot of you guys said that he is very left leaning, but try to put political ideology aside, because I believe I have a lot of people in the left and a lot of people in the right. Try to be neutral. There is a point here. There is a point.
Institutions and the concept of an American dream. The system is not working for George. Each cost leads to another cost, creating a poverty trap with no chance of getting out. Expensive housing far from work means a car. A car means maintenance and insurance and fuel, which means less money for food and healthcare. He makes too much for government assistance on any of this. How is George supposed to have the time, the money, or even the brain space to think about school or improving his skills? His social mobility is limited. We often think about America as this land of opportunity. If you work hard, you can move up. But the data shows us that just isn't the case anymore. For someone like George, or for the...
This one, maybe I disagree. I mean, you might not never get the guy that makes 1 million or the other one that makes 25 million. But you for sure, if you are...
It's not about making, I'm 1 million or 25 million. It's making that I can actually move up. I can actually move from George to Simon, and go up, other people's income bracket. Be, him. I have a lot of relatives who are in Tim's class. Well, I stuck in George's class. I might be stuck in George's class my entire life. Unfortunately, I chose something I thought was supposed to help me, and it's not. It's not helping me at all. I hate myself.
Getting out. Expensive housing far from work means a car.
You might not never get the guy that makes 1 million or the other one that makes 25 million. But you for sure, if you are a healthy person, and that's a big thing, you can, in America, I feel like you can make quite more than 25,000 if you work hard, right? So
the tens of millions of Americans like him. The gap is getting wider, and it's getting harder to close. And that's bad. Not just bad because it's unfair, but it's bad for our economy. It's bad for our politics. And it's bad for the 44 million people who live in the richest country in the world, but don't have enough food every day. The people who only have access to credit via predatory lenders. The people whose lives are rocked when they get a $25 overdraft fee, or who can't afford an oil change. It's time for the people in charge in this country to do what they did 100 years ago and reverse this curve before it becomes too late.
Top 1% hold nearly 10 times more wealth than the bottom 50% combined.
A staggering $5 trillion in wealth is set to be passed on without a dime of taxes. Oxfam is warning this accumulation of wealth in the hands of so few could exacerbate political divides, cause corruption, and impact economic growth worldwide.
okay, my friends, but the question is, how can you actually fix this?
You have to get people, politicians, especially at the local level, state level, add some taxes. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. You could just be 4 or 5%. Like, all right, you make $4 million, 4%. There you go. It's not this big, huge thing. I know a lot of people try to make it much bigger than it needs to be, but it's not. Like, be fucking stupid. Let's see what else I want to watch. Something. Let's look at some gun. Try something. Gotta be something interesting. Just in firearms. This guy's really good. I like him a lot. Wish I would like him.
What's up, guys? Spin Firearms
I mean,
here.
this guy has 163 followers. I mean, he's probably making really good money, even if he's not making money directly from YouTube. But I bet you a lot of people are like sponsoring, maybe ammo.
Today we're going to be talking about Glocks Gen 3 versus the Gen 5s. Now, there are Gen 4s as well. I only have one Gen 4. It's a Glock 33 chamber and 357 SIG. It's basically the same size handgun, but in 357 SIG. Now, the reason why we're just comparing these two instead of Gen 4s are basically Gen 3s with removable back straps. Obviously, they had a couple changes in terms of the extractors, guide rods, that whole sort of thing. But across the subcompact line, they basically stayed the exact same. And because I'm going to start doing this, every time I talk about Glocks, because people, for whatever reason don't like Glocks, I will show you guys another option that is similar, but not a Glock. And today's option is going to be the FNS 9C from FN. You can get these in 40, 9mm. They are subcompacts, 12 plus 1 in this setup right here. Actually, a pretty nice handgun that's actually been growing on me. So that is the FNS 9C. Anyways, Gen 3s basically are never going to be MOS. You would have to send your slide away, so you will never find an optics-ready Gen 3.
Okay.
Gen 3s, though, are the only Glocks allowed on the roster in California. That's why they are still in production, and they had less problems than the Gen 4s did, right? We all know that Glock did have a recall on their Gen 4s, right? It wasn't for any drop safety issues or anything like that, but they did have an issue, I believe, is on
it's like
guide rods was their major.
There's a little slight dimple. That's supposed to be there, or is that just? Seems a bit odd. Maybe it's supposed to be there. I don't know. We'll find out.
Anyways, Gen 3s are the most tested Glocks on the market. The Glock 26, Glock 27 in this size came out between 1994 and 1996 for the two versions and have been doing great ever since. They've been law enforcement, contracts, basically tested in the craziest capabilities, right? And it's done or tested for its crazy capabilities, and it has proven itself every step of the way. That's why I like my Gen 3s. People always ask, why Gen 3 over Gen 5? That's why I'm doing this video in the first place. They always see that I tend to be carrying a Gen 3 Glock 26, and they think, it's got to do with finger grooves. No, it's just I've always had Gen 3s because they've been around before the Gen 5s, and on top of that, they've just never let me down. You do see here and then, even though Glock is great and reliable, every company has lemons. And it just seems like the Gen 5s or the Gen 5 mags tend to be a little bit more finicky, as well as have a little bit more issues than you see with the Gen 3s and the fixed Gen 4s, right? Anyways, this is my first Glock 27 ever, and the number one thing I like about the Gen 3s is the finish. I do like the finish on these, even though as for a looks perspective, it looks better on a Gen 5. I do like this finish better. It just holds up through anything. I mean, I've beat the crap out of this handgun, and it's actually
everything else on this gun looks fine.
really held up in terms of the finish. You can see little markings and stuff, but you can't really see it at a distance, and it is what it is. Doesn't matter. It's a carry gun. There are no rails on any subcompacts across the line. It's just plain and simple. And you can't find a Glock 33 in Gen 5s. Gen 5s have less models. That's another reason why you go with Gen 3 or Gen 4 is they have every model, whereas the MOS system and the Gen 5s do not have every model. They just added the 29 and the 30 as of recent, right? Anyways, these are also skinnier. The Gen 3s are skinnier. And because people say they're blocks, they're not ergonomic, personally, I think they both feel really good in the hand. I do like the Gen 5's thickness a little bit better, and they are thicker. If you look up top, look at the slide, that does help with better recoil control as well. But overall concealability, smaller package, that whole sort of thing, it is going to go to the Gen 3s, but it's not by much. It doesn't really matter. They're all going to have the same capacity across models. All magazines are interchangeable across models, so it doesn't really matter in terms of that. I like the finish. I like the overall ergonomics. Like I said, I also just like the reliability and testing that's happened on them. In terms of the trigger, the Gen 5 has to win simply because of the performance trigger. Now, I know they allow the performance trigger in the Gen 4s, which sort of has me a little confused in terms of part compatibility, because technically on subcompacts, wouldn't that mean that can work in a Gen 3? So I'm actually going to be testing that this week. I'm going to see if the performance trigger at all can run in the Gen 3s over the Gen 4s. Anyways, having the performance trigger is a much better option than your average Glock trigger. It's just the perfect everyday carry trigger. But in terms of OEM triggers, I do like my Gen 3 triggers a little bit better. Super crisp and clean on this. Barely any sponginess. I mean, it's just straight to the point.
Got some other pistols. Fan or is it here? Hey, board today can't wear.
I never wanted this. I got Easy Fiber for the 8 gig speed at a low price for life. But
and there's no aftermarket parts on this whatsoever. So for some reason, my 26 and 27 Gen 3s, once they break in, they just absolutely rock. Gen 5s, like I said, you can find the MOS versions across the lines. I'm not sure if they have a 27 yet, or for the 29 or the 30, but I'm sure that will be coming if it already isn't a thing. But you're going to find MOS all over the place. You're going to find more options for night sights. You do have to pay extra, but you will see more packages like that. You'll also see certain packages like porting and, different paint colors and all sorts of stuff, Cerakotes, whatever, on the Gen 5s. Like I said, though, I do like the ergonomics of a Gen 5 better without the finger grooves, but finger grooves aren't terrible. My fingers never line up on them, if you see. It doesn't sit properly on them, so it feels sort of weird, but it's never really been an issue. There is no big difference. Chances are if you buy a Glock, it's going to be reliable. The Gen 5s are a little heftier and thicker, which sort of doesn't make sense with the trend that firearms are heading in, but overall, they're both great. Now, the only issues I've had with problems with in terms of Glocks was a Glock 45, Gen 5 obviously, brand new. And that was simply because of mags, need to be broken in a little bit. Other than that, haven't had a single issue across the board. And in fact, this is my best shooting 40 in terms of accuracy. It's not my softest shooting 40, it's just my best shooting 40. Recoil is better on the Gen 5s, but for the average person, I feel like if you think this is already thick and too big and grippy, then I wouldn't go with the Gen 5. Gen 3s are going to be a little bit more comfortable in your hand. But more features for your Gen 3s, more holsters for your Gen 3s. One thing you'll notice is in order to make your holster work for both sizes, you can use a Gen 5, but if you have a Gen 3 and are going to Gen 5, you're going to have the Gen 5 first, is basically what I'm trying to say. But if you get a holster like this, which they don't make, unfortunately, anymore, it will fit both of them, no problem. Anyways, it's more, in terms of thickness, similar to the Glock 29 and Glock 30, which is pretty surprising, because for the Glock 30S and Glock 36, they went down to the average Glock 26 Gen 3 slide size. But overall, not big differences. Doesn't matter. It's all about how it feels in your hand and what you like. Personally, I do like Gen 3s more, but give me a Gen 5 any day of the week, I'm fine. Give me a Gen 4. They're all great handguns. You can't go wrong with either. But I will say that Glocks, overall, Gen 3 and Gen 4 have been around so much. Parts are everywhere. Holsters, it's crazy the part kits you can find for the Gen 3s and Gen 4s. You can go right now online and find $80 part kits for all OEM, everything, and have it to your doorstep in, 5 days or whatever the case may be. So that's where Gen 3 wins for a crap at the fan situation. I think overall, the Gen 3s are more perfected. Gen 5s are great as well. And you have the performance trigger and ambidextrous controls and all sorts of stuff like that. But for me, I do like the finish. Oh yeah, another thing, the finish wear. I've had this gun for less time. You can see that the barrel has a lot more wear. The slide is a lot more wear from holster. Where this has been shot up, 4 or 5 times more, and you barely got any markings whatsoever. And it's been holstered a million times. That's the difference in finish, as you see. Overall, like I said, it does not matter to me, but I am rocking out with my Gen 3s. Thanks for watching, guys.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being with us again today. So the question comes up often, what does it take to make a great carry gun? Well, you need it to be accurate, you need it to be reliable, and you need to be able to carry it in comfort. The Glock 26 has been doing all of that for over 25 years. So with all the new options and the new high-capacity micro compacts, does the Glock 26 really have anything to offer? Well, we're going to find out in just a minute. I meant to get this in the rotation a long time ago, but we've done a lot of Glocks, and of course there are so many pistols to cover out there, we just get to things as quick as we can. And of course, when I mentioned to my colleagues I was going to be covering the 26, the usual scoffing occurred because, well, you know, in many people's eyes, there are just so many better options these days. But we're going to put that to the test. Now, I always like to do a little size comparison, but before I do a side-by-side, of course, if you're not familiar already, if you're not a Glock person, well, the 26 is essentially, you know, the little baby brother of the 19, and of course the 19 is the baby brother of the 17. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference between a Glock 19 and a Glock 26. The length, the grip, you know, there's no comparison that they're quite a bit smaller than the 19. Well, one of the guns that was mentioned that was critical to 26 was the 43X. So you know, with the existence of the 43X, why even have the 26? Well, okay, I guess that's fair, but let's take a look. So this is a Glock 43X. Now, if you look at these two firearms, they look very similar from the side.
Yeah, I mean, they do look similar.
A good portion of the firearm right around the trigger guard, right until you get to about right here, and you can see, of course, you got a lot longer grip. So it's kind of a trade-off, and there's some very obvious reasons behind it, but if you look at it, of course, yes, the 43X is quite a bit slimmer, okay, than the 26, and of course it has a longer grip. Well, obviously there's no, you know, magic involved here. The 26 is a double stack 10 round capacity 9mm, and the 43X is a 10 round single stack 9mm. So you are giving something up, you know, having the longer grip on the 43X, because when you look at the difference in how much you have, that's going to make that a little bit easier to conceal. So when you're thinking about the size of the handgun, obviously, since these are for concealed carry, that's going to be one of your primary considerations. All right, we're going to jump right into the features here, but before we do, I want to take a moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us this beautiful example of the Glock 26 for our tabletop review today. 2 magazines, so these are 10 round magazines. That gives you a total of 11. Of course, they do make a multitude of aftermarket type magazines if you wish to do that. Of course, the other advantage as far as magazines is if you have, you know, standard Glock, you can take your Glock 19 magazine and you can stick it right in your Glock 26 if that's what you want to do. You could even take your Glock 17 mags or any other standard 9mm Glock magazine. It's a double stack and you can put it right in there. So if you got Glock magazines around for all of your pistols, you have plenty of options to go in your Glock 26. Gun is often used as a backup to the Glock 19 or the Glock 17 for that very reason. So looking at the handgun over at the top here, of course, your sights. This is your typical Glock U-notch and then front dot sight. I prefer, you know, either a Trijicon, you know, high visibility colored front sight or fiber optic or something, but this is great. And as long as your lighting is good enough to see this works just fine. I've done a lot of shooting with just the regular Glock sights and they're good. You got your rear serrations. Now I was mentioning there's just a few differences between the
freaked out for a little bit because like he had it on the back of the gun for so long and it almost looked like screen froze for a second.
Yeah, the 26 and then like the Gen 5. Well, one of those differences, you do have front serrations on the Gen 5, which I don't.
Just double checking on my mic. Works.
Really see how that's a big deal.
Unmuted.
I can't hardly see myself using front serrations, but that's just me. Of course, you've got your trigger. This is just a Glock triggers to me. Virtually every gun, and we'll talk more about the trigger when we do the range. But to me, pretty much all Glock triggers feel about the same. There's just slight variances between them, but Glock to me has really standardized their trigger, and there's not really a whole lot to talk about there. If you've shot one, I think you've shot most of them. You do have your slide lock and release here. It is only on the left-hand side. And of course, to disassemble a Glock, if you've ever done one of these, if you see you've got this little pull-down tab here, you have one that matches on the other side. All you have to do is pull the slide back just ever so slightly, pull your tabs down, and then you can push the whole thing forward and off. Once you've done that, of course, your rod and your spring tip out, and then your barrel just tips right out. So you can clean those items, get them ready, and put them right back in the gun, and then you simply bring it all back, and you're ready to rock and roll again. I think Glock has done a really good job of making their guns easy to use and own and perform the basic maintenance. Because really, if you have to go further than this, if you're not a gunsmith, take it to one. There's plenty of great gunsmiths around at these stores. These guys do this for a living, and they're really good at it, and they'll take care of you. So if it goes beyond that, make sure you take it to a professional. You have your magazine release. You know, nothing special here. But you got this little thumb groove on top of it, and I think if you've got even if you got a two-handed grip, it does a pretty good job to me of keeping my thumb off of that, and yet I need to access it. It's not a problem. Now, I also mentioned that on the Gen 5, you've got just the flat grip in the front. For a pistol like this that has a really small stubby grip, I actually prefer these finger grooves. I think that if you're going to have a small grip like that, that's a two-finger grip, I actually want some place for those two fingers to go. And I've held both and I've shot both. But I really think that this is the better way to go. So I will forever miss this once these are gone. You've got a really light pattern on the side here. Like I say, this your thumb just kind of slides right over this. Now you've got pretty good indentions here and there, and then in the back as well that you can hold on to. But as far as the feel on the sides, it's a little slick. No big deal. And that's typical Glock for you. That's one thing about them. Glocks.
All right. Learning some new stuff about the Glock. I knew about the Glock itself. Learning more about like the pocket Glocks or micro 9s.
Sir,
interesting.
They're very consistent. They don't have a lot of frills on them. Of course, you can update your sights pretty easy on a Glock. There's a ton of aftermarket support, including holsters and all kinds of other goodies. And of course, we'll talk about the holsters a little bit more in just a minute. So I mentioned earlier one of my colleagues was kind of scoffing at me when I mentioned I was going to talk about the 26, mainly because this individual believes that the very existence of the 43X kind of makes the 26 like why even carry it? Well, as I said, you do have some size differences, and depending on how you carry that firearm, it might actually make a difference as to how comfortable it's going to be. And actually, for my hand, I like the 43X fine. You've got a larger grip, and I actually can get more of my hand on the gun. But oddly enough, the 26 actually feels more comfortable in my hand because it's wider. I actually like the way it feels in my hand. The other thing is what we're talking about now, and that's the range performance. Glocks are...
This is the Heiser Pack 1, or Pocket AK-1. It is a Derringer single shot chambered in 7.62 by 39.
Let's talk about the M9 safety, because it's the top reason that people hate this handgun. And the military's to blame, just like the reliability issues with these guns. What do I mean by that? Well, they teach to remove the safety that you sweep it up. Sounds fine in theory, except if you're a normal human being, you have to break your grip to swipe it up. No, now you Beretta fans out there, you know, but the rest of you are about to learn. To remove the safety on a Beretta, you just sweep straight down, just like a 1911. Look at that. I don't have to break my grip at all to take the safety off. Perfect. People also complain about a slide-mounted decocker. They say it's a horrible thing. Well, guess what? You see that firing pin right there? When you start to rotate this, look, it's a two-piece firing pin. It completely moves it out of the way, rendering the gun extremely safe. Plus the internal firing pin block. Can't beat it. This safety is a winner, and now you know. Let's talk about the M9 safety.
All
because
right.
it's the top.
No.
What's up, guys? Spin Firearms here. And
Alright, let's see. Prove media bias against first.
You know, I've really never been one to believe in conspiracy theories. And when I have, they're ones that I've made up myself, you know, more like suspicions I've had. And people are starting to really recognize how obvious it is, since people are far less biased against Kamala Harris than they were towards Biden, at least on the left. You see, a while ago, and by that I mean literally 3 years ago, I covered this story, and I've repeatedly brought this specific article up and these numbers when referencing mainstream left-wing media's obvious motivations when it comes to what makes them the most money. Here's the article. This is from 2021. TV news ratings, online readership, and viewership all plunge during Biden's first 100 days in office. During President Biden's first 100 days in office, weekly full-day cable ratings for CNN and MSNBC have been trending down, according to statistics from ratings company Nielsen. On average, 1.3 million household viewers were watching MSNBC in the last week of January, shortly after Biden took office. For the week ending April, the number was 868,000. This is in 2021, by the way. At CNN, those figures went from 1.2 million to 750,000. We can actually bring up the chart. They include... Wait, does this one not include the chart? Oh, well. Well, sadly, I don't have a visual chart to attach to it for you, but regardless, there's been a lot of reporting on this, going back to literally 2021, about how every single mainstream left or right-wing media outlet took a massive hit, and independent ones too, took a massive hit after Biden took office. The fact was, Biden was a good president. A pretty damn good president. And a good president is bad for business when you're in the business of being sensationalist about what's happening to keep a 24-hour news cycle going, and, you know, that 24-hour news cycle having as many eyes on it as possible is how you make money. Which is why my little conspiracy is that the supposedly close race between Kamala Harris and Trump is nowhere near as close as we think, or as is reported by mainstream media outlets, that the closeness of the race is being heavily exaggerated by these media outlets to keep eyes on it, because it probably...
Yeah, I'm really surprised at how close Harris and Trump is. If you know anything about like what the government's doing, you know, like testing and all these things, all these long-term ideas, of course it's going to be a lot better. Unfortunately, people don't think in long-term. People just think in a year, 2 years, and, you know, oh, you know, gas was real cheap. The reason why gas was cheap was because COVID lockdown. You want to make gas cheap, COVID lockdown.
Well, let me give you an example. This is an article that came out pretty recently, about a week ago, and it shows an example, an objective report example of Kamala Harris, not Biden, but Kamala Harris having a bias against her in reporting when it comes from left-wing outlets. Mind you, I complained about this stuff for the last years, as I've covered Biden's accomplishments pretty hardcore, and even finding articles that talk about Biden's policy accomplishments is hard, because I have to find them to talk about them and learn about them. When I can tell when news is hard to find, and any of Biden's accomplishments, some of the hardest news to find anything on, out of anything. It was fucking buried, and they're doing the same thing to Kamala Harris, because remember, MSNBC, CNN, all of these things, they lose if Kamala wins. It is just that simple, and they know it. They know what happened after Biden took office. Stability and the American people feeling safe and secure means they don't watch the news.
All right, hold on. Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry about that.
And they don't watch political content. It is not in their best interest. Which is why, according to MediaMatters.org, broadcast news mostly ignored Kamala Harris's proposal expanding Medicare to cover in-home health care for 15 million seniors. The major corporate broadcast news networks ABC, CBS, NBC largely ignored Vice President Kamala Harris's proposal to expand Medicare to pay for long-term in-home health service for seniors in the 2 weeks since she announced it. ABC, where Harris broke the news on an episode of The View, otherwise made only passing mention of the proposal, as did NBC, while CBS ignored it entirely. All told, this transformative expansion of Medicare garnered just 35 seconds of combined airtime across 3 of the largest broadcast networks in the last 2 weeks since she announced it. Mind you, this is massive. Like, this expansion of Medicare is huge, and the fact that these institutions have just decided, no, we're not going to report on it. We're not going to let people know. It makes me wonder how many more things like this have been happening for the last 4 years. How many more stories about, like, Biden's achievements
That's
have
true.
these organizations decided, we'll give it 20 seconds of,
But thank God for working, Twitter and yeah, mostly just Twitter, like, because Biden's doing a pretty good job of, like, his accomplishments now, and having the receipts for Republicans who are trying to take his credit.
attention, period. Because it's kind of bad for them if Dem voters think they're being represented. They need to feel angry, and like they need to be locked in on the news and waiting for the next election, complaining about who's currently in power and wanting someone else. This situation is one in which these companies lose if Kamala Harris wins. And they're left-wing news media. But that is the case. Trump is very good money for these organizations. An October 11th KFF study estimated that 14.7 million Medicare beneficiaries, or nearly 23% of enrolled beneficiaries, could potentially benefit from this policy. KFF explained that under no current law, Medicare coverage of home care is quite limited, and that in-home care is extremely expensive, adding that existing Medicaid coverage rules are complex for in-home care. KFF additionally explained that this proposal would also expand.
It would be nice if they did expand this kind of rule. In-home care would help out a lot of people. Help a lot of people that need it badly.
Medicare to cover vision and hearing and end the Medicaid practice of recovering care costs from estates after patients pass away. Harris's proposal has received wide, dedicated coverage from numerous news organizations. This includes web-based stories from the major broadcast news networks. However, these networks have failed to air substantial coverage of her policy on their morning, evening, or Sunday news programs, which are watched by millions of people during the past 2 weeks. This is true. While occasionally they do have authors that will write articles about this, and that makes it easier for me to report on it because I like reading these articles, they're not talking about it on the news, like on TV, where shitloads of people are watching, shitloads of voters are watching.
Yep, very, very true.
A previous Media Matters study found zero ABC, CBS, or NBC evening news coverage of Harris's proposal on October 8th, the day she unveiled it on ABC's The View. We extended this study through October 22nd to encompass morning, evening, and Sunday news programs on ABC, CBS, and NBC. We found that 3 mentions of her policy proposal during this time frame, totaling merely 35 seconds. ABC's Good Morning America mentioned her policy for 12 seconds on October 20th during a news package on both presidential candidates. NBC Nightly News mentioned it for 16 seconds at the end of an October 15th news package on soaring home senior care costs, which this policy is specifically designed to address. Harris's policy received much more prominent mention in an online version of the story, which would have presumably enjoyed a fraction of the broadcast program's more than 5 million person audience. NBC also briefly aired Harris mentioning her policy for 7 seconds on the October 20th edition of Meet the Press. CBS News failed entirely to mention Harris's Medicare expansion policy on its morning, evening, and Sunday news programs. Then there's an area for methodology and everything. Now, this is just one, study, whatever you want to call it, one project worked on by Media Matters here to just look into the coverage of Kamala Harris's promises and her rhetoric. And isn't it interesting to you that left-wing media, or what we look at as left-wing media in this country, is so dedicated to trying to squeeze every last penny they can out of shitting on Trump, which, fair, that's good, that they aren't giving Kamala Harris the platform to even, they are...
It's crazy, yeah. It's very crazy how, these are pretty left-wing media / journalists. You'll think they'll cover a lot more of her policies and give them a fair shake. They don't.
Are not reporting all-encompassingly on the platform of the Democratic nominee. It's infuriating, actually, right? I'm not the only one who's pissed about this, and I can't be the only one who feels a little, a little validated, maybe, that perhaps the media has had a pretty blatant bias against Biden for years now, for no other reason than statistically and provably so and publicly known due to the Nielsen statistics. Biden has been one of the worst things for mainstream news and the 24-hour news cycle ever. They were so desperate, they had to publish thousands of stories about every gaffe, stumble, and misspeak from Biden.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was so focused on, they overdid it so much, he ended up losing the nomination as the incumbent. This is happened once before, I think, in U.S. history, once or twice. It's unprecedented. Good example of a supposedly left-leaning...
It won't show about Biden's mental acuity going down, but nothing about Trump's. Trump's mental acuity going down as well, but nothing.
Left-leaning, quote-unquote, news outlet that fell to the desire for money. Last week, the Washington Post refrained from endorsing a candidate in the presidential race for the first time in 36 years. The decision was reportedly ordered by Jeff Bezos, the Post's owner and one of the richest men in the world. The Seattle billionaire, by the way, I pass the island that fucker lives on regularly, who owns Amazon, purchased the flailing newspaper in 2013 in a rare fit of civic duty. The blowback was immediate and substantial. Within 48 hours of the announcement, as many as 200,000 paying readers canceled their subscriptions to the already money-losing news organization, and according to reporting by NPR. Such withholding of revenue is
So
usually
bad.
more a symbolic message than a real threat to the viability of a company. But for the Post, which has been teetering for decades, any loss in subscribers is threatening. Hundreds of good journalists who had no influence on Bezos' decision remain unsure of the validity of their employer. Residents of the District of Columbia and much of Virginia and Maryland also rely on the Post for coverage of state and local issues, culture, and sports. All of this is threatened by Bezos' decision and the public uprising against it. He's destroying some people's local news by doing this. But yeah, for the first time in 36 years, during an election where one of the candidates is a fascist promising to destroy democracy, Jeff Bezos has ordered that the Washington Post does not endorse a candidate for president. Everyone's dropping Washington Post now. The fact that these companies can just do this, like they can tank the fines and the repercussions for this kind of stuff, if there are any. The fact that they can just do this, man, I cannot wait for the reports to start coming out after Biden's presidency about the rate at which Biden's gaffes were covered compared to the rate at which Biden's unprecedented accomplishments in politics were covered. Because I am willing to bet my left testicle at this very moment that there are going to be some stark findings. Like some real obvious bullshittery was going on the entirety of Biden's presidency. Not on his end, on the media's end. This entire story, these stories I should say, should really help to hammer home that while the whole fake news thing is bullshit, these companies absolutely have interests in how much attention they give to certain stories than others, and they want to focus on what makes the most money. And while they're not pro-Trump necessarily, they want Trump around to shit on. And helping Kamala Harris win too hard doesn't keep Trump around, does it? We'll see, though. Let's see how this race ends up going. Maybe they are accurately reporting the neck-and-neckness of this race. But if Kamala Harris ends up pulling a landslide victory out of this...
Like the crazy thing is, like, a lot of her policies are very popular. Legalize weed, increase the minimum wage, expanding Medicare, Medicaid, do a lot more things. They expand general health care would be nice. Give us, I don't know if we can get Medicare for all. Probably got type of stuff, protecting land, environment, investing more in solar, wind, EVs, just normal stuff that's good, Putting some tariffs on China and all that, but not too much that will tank our economy because we make a lot of stuff in China. Honestly, I'm guessing we'll be pulling out a lot of stuff out of China. That's probably not the only place we need to pull out. Maybe Bangladesh, because that's very, very uncertain. Maybe they may end up going to Vietnam instead of Mexico. I don't know how much they can make in Pakistan. Pakistan's bad.
Election. I think these companies are going to have a lot to answer for. Genuinely. A lot to answer for. Because they have been pushing the idea that this is a neck-and-neck race really hard. And there's some polling that is starting to suggest that that's not the case. They're pro-capitalist, so I'm not surprised that they'll take any opportunity. They can't screw people over and suppress the media. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's like an agenda so much as it is just companies doing what companies do. They spend more time on what makes them money and less time on what doesn't make them money. But the problem is when the outcome of that is a bias against a candidate, like at least the better candidate, then it's worth calling out. At least I think so. Anyway.
Whoops.
Though I love it. Thank you so much to everybody who likes and comments. And of course, if you haven't already, consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually...
Alright. That's where I'm gonna end. 2 hours? Okay. It's not a quick 2-hour stream. Reaction content. Right? Not too much, not too little. Who am I gonna... Who would I actually give? No one free. Alright, we'll try this guy. Derp. Go rating that person. We can do hopefully tomorrow. Well, maybe tomorrow. Start fixing my schedule. No, at least this week. Maybe getting back into Dragon Age, Yakuza, Fallout New Vegas, games. I don't know what else to play. Maybe once I beat some RPGs, I can fill in with some other RPGs. Maybe Baldur's Gate 3, Nier Replicant, or some other type of game. I don't know, but we know what you guys have in mind. Thank you guys so much, and goodbye.